Okay, today we're going to talk about finding inverses algebraically. So yesterday in class we talked about how you can find directions to a place and then using your knowledge of going the opposite direction, find directions from where you were going back to where you came from. So the same concept happens when we're dealing with equations. An inverse, you normally solve it going in one direction, solving for x, but now we're going to switch x and y and solve for y, and we're going to find the inverse of the function. Okay, so these notes are already on your sheet that I gave you in class yesterday, so you just have to watch and listen. So the inverse notes, so we switch the x and the y. So if we look at this example, we have y equals 3x plus 5. When I want to solve for the inverse, I switch x and y, and it would look like an x equals equation. Okay, then your goal is to get y by itself. So when your equation, then your new equation says y equals, you have found the inverse. Okay, we use this notation right here to say f inverse of x, meaning find the inverse of your equation. Now we've seen that when we did matrices. Remember, we were undoing the multiplication by using the inverse because we couldn't divide in the calculator. Alright, so you've seen that notation kind of before. Okay, but the best way to figure this out is just to work some examples. So this should be put on your Cornell notes that I handed you yesterday. Alright, it says find the inverse of y equals 3x plus 5. So your first step is to switch x and y. So I'm going to say x is actually equal to 3y plus 5. Okay? Then I want to get y by itself. So if you need to underline it or box it so you know that that's what you're solving for. So to do that, it's reverse PEMDAS. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So I get x minus 5 is equal to 3y. Then I divide each side by 3. Remember, you're dividing this whole thing by 3. So my inverse is y equals x minus 5 divided by 3. I can just write it just like that, okay? Some people would write it x over 3 minus 5 over 3. Either way, doesn't matter. These are the same thing, okay? So that's finding the inverse. It's that simple. Let's do another example. So example 2 says find the inverse of x of f of x. So when it reads like this, it means that what you're trying to find is the inverse of this function that's been given. Okay, so remember that f of x is really just y equals, so I can just change it to y equals. So I'm going to switch my x and y, and so it's going to be x equals 7y minus 2 over 5. Okay, to undo a fraction, because remember we're wanting to get this by itself, to undo this fraction, I multiply both sides by 5 because it's being divided. Okay, so I would have 5x is equal to 7y minus 2. These cancel out because this is over 1. Okay, then I would add 2 to both sides. So 5x plus 2 equals 7y. Then I would divide each side by 7. So my final inverse, or f inverse of x, would be equal to 5x plus 2 divided by 7. Okay? If you wrote something like this, because you have it written f inverse of x, that tells me that this is the inverse. I don't have to write y equals, I can write it like this. Okay? So on your worksheet, I want you to finish doing example 3. It says find the inverse of f of x equals negative 2x plus 7. Remember that this is just y equals. So you're going to switch to x and y and solve it out. Okay, I want you to practice that one. I'm going to be checking it as your entrance ticket tomorrow in class. Alright, if you have questions, rewatch the video, and we will be doing this in class tomorrow, so you'll